Alright, today I'm going to be sculpting a lobster. As you can see, I've been sculpting them all day. Well, not all day, but for the last couple hours. It's actually pretty simple once you get used to it, but I sell these down at the old port during the summer to tourists because I live in Maine, and you know Maine's all about that lobster. And it's probably going to be a bit of a quiet video because I got headphones on and I'm watching something in the background. Need the headphones or I'll get copyright struck, so just a quiet little video. You can watch me sculpt this lobster. Start out with a body here. Kind of make a little, pinch a little tail, flatten it out. Lobsters get those flat tail fins. People always ask me how I get the clay so smooth. It's pretty simple. You just, lots of little tiny taps. Tap, 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 tap. You can go like that too, obviously. I'm not too worried about fingerprints in the clay because the paint will cover that up. And then I spray some protectant onto the clay. That covers it up even more, so if there's a big old fingerprint in the clay, not even going to notice by the time it's finished. That was something that concerned me when I first started sculpting, but soon realized it wasn't as big an issue as I thought. Now to the tail, I'm just going to make a couple little nicks right here. You can do more than 3, but I typically do 3. I think an actual lobster has probably like 7 or 8 little fins in the tail, but my lobsters are much more cartoony. Just a couple little lines on the tail to indicate the segments. There's the body of the lobster. Pretty dang simple. Next up, take a big old chunk of clay. Didn't I say I wasn't going to talk much in this video? I guess I am. And there we go. And chop that in 2. And just really, clay sometimes needs to be massaged quite a bit to get it ready to sculpt. I'm using super sculpty polymer clay, and for some reason, sometimes you get a brick that's really hard and you gotta massage that for many minutes before it's ready to use, and other times you get one that's relatively soft and you only have to spend a few seconds. And luckily, this particular brick is pretty soft. Alright, so those claws are the right size. Typically a lobster, a Maine lobster, will have one claw that's bigger than the other. But since, like I said, these are more cartoony styled, like I tried selling more accurate lobsters in the old port to tourists, and they didn't like the accurate ones. They prefer the cartoony, silly ones. So that's what I do. There you go. There's 2 balls of clay about the same size, and then just some pinching. Turn it into a little teardrop almost. you know, just like a teardrop, and then of course you bend over the tip of the teardrop there so that it looks kind of like a claw, and then you take a smaller piece of clay, make a little cone, and then you can kind of chop off the end of the cone here to make it flat and attach it right below that. There we go. There's claw number 1. Now I'll make a second claw, same way basically. There's a small bit of difference in the second claw. Like I said, Maine lobsters generally have one claw that's smaller than the other. They got the crusher claw, and then they got kind of the pincher or the cutter claw. I forget what it's actually called, but there's a crusher and the pincher basically. The crusher used to crush open clams and whatever other prey it has, and the pincher is more like to delicately remove meat from the shell once it's been crushed, I guess. I'm not sure that's exactly how it works, but that's how I've always imagined it. So the difference I do with the second claw is I just make it the little cone a little bit longer and sort of go like this. So it's more like the pincher claw. So you get the crusher claw, which is more fat and meaty, and then you get the little pincher claw. That way I at least hold on to a tiny semblance of accuracy, even though the rest of the lobster is cartoony. And there's really no reason for me to add that little detail, but it also helps differentiate my sculptures from some of the cheap plastic ones that they sell in the tourist shops. I think people appreciate that when you get something, each one is just a little bit unique. You're not getting the same one. It's obviously handmade, so you're not getting the same one as anyone else. I just make 2 more balls. Stick one there, and the other one on the other side. And you don't have to do this next part, but I do, because it just makes the claws more durable, so they don't break off in shipping, because I got to drive back and forth from Portland to Lewiston to sell these, and sometimes things get bounced around in the car and the claws might just pop right off. Also, a lot of the people visiting and buying these are tourists. We're going to have to put these in their airplane luggage or their cruise ship luggage. They don't want them breaking off either. Just makes it a lot more durable. Sometimes I put the claws together, sometimes I spread them apart. Sometimes I leave the tail like this. Sometimes I like to curl it under, because if you've ever seen lobsters in a fish tank, they quite often have their tails curled under. And let's see. Okay, I was going to make these ones blue. I do a variety of colors, but where did I put? Oh, there it is. Some blue wire for the legs. Oh, actually, before I do that, doesn't really matter. I could do this before or after, but it makes more sense to me to do it first. Get 2 more little balls. There you go. Roly, 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 roly. Then I stick them together, kind of pinch them a little like this so they look sort of like eyes. And then I just put the eyes right up here. And now obviously, if you've ever seen a lobster, you know their eyes are not anywhere near this big. They are so small. This is what the eye would look like if I actually made it accurate. That would be the eye compared to the giant eyes I've given it. But like I said, people seem to like the cartoony version better. Now I'm going to cut one antenna. Whoop, and it just flew away, as so often happens when I'm cutting wire. I really don't like the wire cutter I'm using right now. That one went flying away too. Yeah. Now get that back. And get that back. In fact, if you don't mind ruining a pair of scissors for a wire this thin, scissors are more than good enough. I'm going to make 8 of these little ones for legs. I could sculpt the legs and the antenna out of clay if I wanted to, but polymer clay, when it's that thin, is extremely fragile. And I would lose half of them during shipping if I made the legs and antenna out of polymer clay. It wouldn't be hard to do, they just wouldn't survive. So, pretty simple. Stick your legs in. A lobster has 4 legs, 4 small legs on each side, in addition to the main claws. I stick them in straight like this until the clay has been baked, and then I adjust them to look more like legs. Because if I try to adjust them now, I'm just going to mush up the clay. There we go. And the antennas, very simple, and like that, little hooky hook. Push that right under the eye, and another one right under the eye. Then I kind of try to fold them up like that while they're baking, because if they lay against the claw, it's going to leave a little indent. And I put it in the tray with the rest of them. There we go. Got 5, that's about as many it'll fit in a tray. So I cook those in the oven at 285 for around 20 minutes or so. And then they come out nice and hard, very durable. These are some that I did yesterday. If I dropped it, they are fragile. If I dropped it, it would probably still break, but it would be very easy to super glue back together, and you wouldn't even be able to tell the difference in most cases. But yeah, when they're done baking, I usually just fold down the legs a little bit so they look more accurate to what a lobster's legs would look like. And you can kind of play with the antenna too and put it in whatever position you want. You can do that, or you can let whoever buys it do that, because who knows, they might want them like this. That's usually how I have them after they're painted. And you could do it like that, or you could put them straight out if you wanted. That's pretty much that. After this, all I got to do is paint the body the color I want, usually red or blue, or there's a few other colors I sometimes do. Then you paint the eyes black and put a couple white dots on there. And that's pretty much it. You don't have to paint the antenna because it's already a pretty metal color. I don't want to paint this now because it's much easier to paint them all in batches. And I'll probably make a video on that too. But it'll be a very short video because, like I said, it's very easy to paint. And then once the paint is dry, I literally just take a can of sealant. And it also, you can get a matte sealant or you can get a glossy seal. And then you you want it to be shiny, shine it up. Couple seconds and it's done. Protected and ready to go. So that's that. That's how you sculpt a polymer clay lobster. Hope you enjoyed the video.